Hello, everyone. I think I'm live. Let me get this up here. Um, Thank you for waiting on me. We're a few minutes late. I could not get my phone to work, so we are using the computer here. Yes, I am live. All right, fantastic. I feel like this was my dad messing with me because I was taking this really seriously. So I feel like he just was like, hey, don't take this so seriously. So here I am, not taking it as seriously. Um, So tonight we're going to talk about grief. And I think it's a really important topic. I think that we don't talk about it enough. I think that people who haven't experienced grief or who aren't currently in grief sometimes are very uncomfortable with people who are grieving because they know that they're going to be there somewhere. So it's not something that people want to look at. They don't want to see somebody grieving, they don't want to see somebody in pain, and they don't know how to help sometimes. So I've written a few blog posts about grief on my website, paulataylorenergy.com. I encourage you to check them out. You can look by keyword, and there are at least one or two that I've written about grief. And sorry, I'm a little bit flustered. That's all right. We're going to get through this. So I've had a lot of grief over the last several years. I've had a lot of losses, and I've sort of joked to people that I'm a professional griever. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience with grief, my understanding of grief from an energetic perspective, and then we're going to do a meditation like we always do. So grief is definitely a process. And like any other process, you can get into a flow and let it kind of go smoothly, or you can develop resistance, and that's when things stagnate and grief is already really difficult. So being able to step into a flow of grief is really powerful. It will move you through that process at your own pace. That's one thing I think that with grief, sometimes people expect things from you, oh, aren't you over that yet? Or, oh, you're over that too soon, that kind of thing. And we really want to let go of that. We want to let go of that judgment of other people because we want them to let go of that judgment of us. And we want to let go of the judgments that we have about ourselves. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my grieving process, but everyone's process is different. And I'm just sharing this because I think it helps to talk about it. It helps to hear about it. It helps to hear somebody talk about something that maybe you've also been through that you can see yourself in. So I feel like there's kind of different stages of grief. There's the kind of typical denial and the acceptance and that kind of stuff. But to me, I feel that there's acute grief, very fresh, new grief, and then there's the grief of several years even going by, and it changes, but it's still there. And that's kind of what I want to talk about a little bit tonight. So if you're in that very fresh, acute, just lost someone grief, this meditation, I encourage you to stay, but this meditation may be not quite right for you. There is a meditation on my website called Dissipation and Expansion, Meditation for Dissipation and Expansion. And that is where my whole spiritual integration process came from, where my book came from. I was in this very acute, heavy state of grief, and I was working with a client who was in grief. And this meditation that I developed later is the same kind of process that happened to us that I talk about in the introduction to my book. So if you're just newly experiencing loss, I absolutely recommend that you use that meditation. You can use it often, as many times as you like, and don't expect that you will dissipate grief immediately. But what it does is that it can help lift some of that weight off of you so that you can breathe again. And then it'll come back and you can lift some of that weight off of you and then you can breathe again. It's kind of I feel like grieving is kind of a contraction and an expansion. And as you get through that process, as you get into more chronic grief, as it were, if I'm going to call it acute grief, what happens is that it's not as acute, it's not as in the moment, it's not as heavy as maybe it once was, but it'll still hit you like that out of nowhere. I remember, I think it was 2 years ago around Christmas time, my dad passed away in 2017. This Friday is his birthday, and that's kind of why I decided to do this week. I had the intention of doing grief from the beginning of these meditations, but this is what inspired me to do this week. And remember, as I said last week, I am practicing this with you. I'm experiencing these things with you. So I may get a little bit emotional, and that's the power of this collective vulnerability that we are developing by being together, by practicing together. We are being courageous enough to be vulnerable with each other. And so if I get a little bit of emotional, I'm just going to go with it. And that's one of the things I learned in my grieving process is not to stop that. Not if I need to cry, I'm going to cry. That's what I did when I was going through this process that I'm going to talk a little more about. But as I was saying, I think it was 2 years ago. So my dad had been gone for maybe about 2 years, and I was getting gas at the gas station. They were playing Christmas music, and this song came on that I'd never heard. It was kind of a swing band, like Bing Crosby. And I thought, oh my gosh, Dad, I wonder if Dad knows the song. He would love it. And I just lost it. I just was like sobbing I'm pumping gas and sobbing. It's making me cry a little bit right now. So to me, that's what happens when grief gets into this more chronic phase. It's like you're going along okay, and then something hits you. And birthdays and anniversaries, and as my friend calls them, death anniversaries, um, they are hard. They're always hard. This is the fourth birthday without my dad, and my mom and I have been texting about how hard this week is. So, okay. Let's see. Sorry, I'm going to look at my notes a little more than usual maybe tonight just because I got a little flustered and feeling a little bit emotional. So one of my big, so I lost my dad. We lost like four close relatives in a year. And then I lost my beagle, who was like my little buddy, who accompanied me and that's what one of my blog posts is about. He really sat with me through a lot of my grief about my infertility. So it was not just, it was the grief initially of trying and failing. Then there was the grief of multiple miscarriages. And then there was the grief of having to let that whole expectation go, having to like accept that I was not going to have a baby. And that was extremely difficult for me. And, I lost multiple pregnancies, somewhere up to maybe 10. And every time it was heartbreaking, every time. And they were very early, but I felt them, and I was spiritually connected to my son. He kept coming back. He told me his name. He's probably the person that I'll see in this meditation today. And what I learned in this process was I had to just let it happen. I had to go with the flow. And when I could feel that I had all this emotion built up that I wanted to let go of, I would meditate, I would do yoga, and then I would just bawl on the floor. And that's when my little beagle buddy would come and kind of lay next to me and comfort me just by being there. And that's one of the posts that I wrote is about holding space for grief. It's very important when someone's grieving to just let them grieve and let them know you're there and that you don't have any expectations. And I think that's the most powerful gift you can give someone who is in grief. So I wanted to talk briefly about so all of our secondary emotions basically come out of fear or love. So the things that we typically think of as negative emotions come out of fear, things like envy or anger. There's a fear of scarcity, so we're worried that somebody has something nicer than us, or somebody's triggered us and we get angry. Depression is kind of anger turned inward, but it's really just that same fear. And grief is a strange one because grief, I think most people would call grief a negative emotion. It's not, it's not fun, it's painful. But grief comes out of love. I just saw this quote, and I should have written it down because I'm going to paraphrase and probably get it wrong. And it was attributed to Winnie the Pooh, which you know how the internet is. I don't know if that's true, but it sounded like something that Winnie the Pooh would say. And it said something like, how lucky I am that I had something that's so hard to say goodbye to. And that's the root of grief, is that love. You love someone and then you've lost them. And it's hard. It's very hard. So, what we're going to do tonight is actually reconnect with someone we've lost. So we're not working as much with that feeling of grief. I've got the meditation for that already. What I want to do with you tonight is actually, we're going to go back to our energetic sanctuary that we explored a couple weeks ago, and we're going to invite somebody to come and visit us. I've never done this before. I've been visited by um, people who have passed on for many years, but I think this is a skill that anyone can develop. And just like in my book, when I talk about learning to work with your energy, like we're learning to work in the spiritual realm. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that and what you may or may not expect to happen. And then we're going to get into the meditation. So, last thing I want to say before I talk a little bit more about the meditation is this real? I get this question fairly frequently when I'm talking about because I can communicate with animals who have passed on and people, and I don't know. The answer is I don't know. And I'll say to people like, maybe there's something wrong in my brain and this is all, I'm just crazy. But I don't think so. And here's why. I have had so many experiences in the last 20 years or so that I've been doing this that I cannot explain away. I have had just a few months ago, I had a friend contact me and she had to euthanize her dog and she wasn't sure if she made the right decision and she was racked with guilt. And so she contacted me and she wanted to know if her dog was okay. And I had met her dog, but it had been years. I didn't really know her dog. And and as I connected, the first thing I saw was this dog in a beautiful field just running in circles, kind of chasing her tail. And so I asked my friend, did your dog like to run in circles? And she said, "Oh my God, that's what she did when she was happy. Like when I got home from work and she was excited to see us, she would just run around in circles and chase her tail." And there's no way that I could have known that. I mean, I could have guessed, like if I was trying, if I was pulling a fast one, I guess. But I think that has happened to me so many times. I have communicated with people who are passing away currently, who I've never met before, or people who have passed on, and these experiences are real. This is happening. We just can't see it on the physical plane. But when you get in touch with that spiritual realm, when you're able to expand out of the physical, there is so much that we don't see, and it's easier to connect with someone you love. My dad comes to me all the time. Sometimes when I'm trying to get my Facebook live videos started, he's messing with my stuff, or he likes to wake me up in the middle of the night, like out of a sound sleep. He doesn't do it as much anymore, but like my son still comes to me. My Aunt Paula has been one of my guides since I got my second Reiki attunement, so that was almost 20 years ago. um, these experiences are real to me, and the experiences that I've had with other people when I help them get in touch with something or someone, with an animal or a person that they've lost or that they're losing, these are these are too powerful to not be real. So that's my answer to that. I don't really know, and I don't really know exactly what happens to us when we die or where we go. But my experience is that there's part of the spirit, part of the soul that was connected to you, that is still available to you, that you can still communicate with. And that's so powerful to alleviate grief, because the root of grief is that separation. I remember when my dad was dying, I said, "This is going to be harder on us than it is on you." And it was. So, um, whew. So when you have that ability to reconnect with somebody that you've lost, it's very powerful. It can alleviate the grief. And you can have a conversation with your person if there's something that you didn't. That's the other thing I wanted to say. When somebody dies, they pass into a state of knowledge that we can't access here on this physical plane. So, when I hear people say, "Oh, the last thing I said to him was such and such, and he didn't know I loved him," trust me, they know how you felt about them. And they pass beyond the emotions that we have in this world into like a more expanded state of unconditional love. And being able to experience that, it can be really healing if you have unfinished business or something that you wanted to say to someone. So you'll have that opportunity to do that tonight. Or if not tonight, you can revisit this meditation and do it when you're feeling a little more comfortable with it. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the meditation and then get into it. And I know I'm talking a little longer than usual, but again, this is kind of a complex subject and it's such an important one that I really wanted to say a few things. And we'll probably come back to this. We will probably do more episodes on grief because I think it is so important and it's so universal. Everybody will experience grief at some point in their life. And maybe you're lucky enough that it hasn't happened to you yet, but it's also important to be present for somebody it has happened to. So understanding all of this stuff can help you be present for someone else who's in their grief. Um, so we're going to go to our energetic sanctuary. We'll spend a little bit of time getting there. And if you haven't done that before, just follow that's the great thing about guided meditation. Just follow what I'm telling you to do. If you're not comfortable seeing someone or letting someone come into your space yet, that's completely fine. So you're just going to hang out in your energetic sanctuary. The great thing about it is that it's such a calm and peaceful state. So you can just ignore the rest of the meditation, go to your energetic sanctuary, take some nice deep breaths, and just bathe in that rejuvenating energy. If you want to invite somebody to come, I encourage you, don't push it. Just stay open. And if it doesn't happen, that's okay. This is the first time probably most of you have done this. So it may not happen the first time. It's practice. It's just like any other skill. So you don't sit down and, play a Bach sonata the first time you sit at a piano. You learn to play Mary Had a Little Lamb. So just practicing getting into this space and opening to whoever might come. That's the other thing. It may not be who you expect. I was doing a meditation the other day for spirit guides that I was being guided in from someone else. And it was supposed to be a spirit guide you'd never met. And here comes my dad and my son walking down the beach. And I'm like, what are you guys doing here? So, you don't have control of who's going to come. You have control of who you invite. And if someone comes that you don't want to see, you can absolutely say, I'm not ready for this. And they will respect that. This is your space that you're inviting them into. But, you may invite somebody in and someone else will show up. And that's okay. If you're comfortable with it, just go with the flow because you can come back to this until you find your person that you were looking for. And the last thing is, feel free to use your imagination here. That's so much of energy work is intention. So you can just imagine that your person's there. If we may go and, if we're going to go sit on a bench or something, picture your person there. Imagine that they're there. Imagine what they would say to you. And that alone will create this intention that maybe the next time we do this, it will seem a little less like it's coming from you and more like it's coming from outside of you. And that's kind of what we're going for. But there's nothing wrong with having a little bit of a fantasy, as it were, while you're in this state. And as you revisit that, the fantasy will become more like a reality. It's still in the spiritual realm, it's not physically here, but it'll feel more like it's coming from outside of you and less like you're creating it, if that makes sense. All right, so that's my last thing. I also wanted to say, if you do practice this and you want to give me any feedback, I would be really excited to hear how this goes for you. If you need more help with this, you can always reach out to me through my website or through Facebook. You can leave comments on this post. You can message me on Facebook. I'm really interested to see how this goes for people because I've never done this as a meditation before. I've never guided people into this space, but as I started this, before everything went crazy, there was a huge amount of energy in this room. It's still here and we're going to tap into it. I mean, I was vibrating and that's how I know I'm on the right track. Intuitively, I know that this is going to be powerful and I know that this could be life-changing for people. So feel free to reach out with feedback or questions or concerns or anything that comes up while we're doing this. So as always, be very gentle with yourself. If you start crying, let it happen. Take some deep breaths. If your mind wanders, that's fine. Just notice it and kind of bring it back to the meditation. Again, we are creating this powerful collective practice by doing this together. but you're doing it in the privacy of your own home. So you have this sort of, it's a win-win situation. We're creating this collective energy where we support each other, but no one is watching you. So, and you'll, as you've seen, people are watching me and I'm just going with it. And that's how energy works. That's how intuition works. You just let this flow happen, and no matter what happens, you are safe and you are secure and you're in the right place at the right time. So let's start. Close your eyes and let yourself get comfortable. Whatever part of you is touching the ground, whether it's your feet or you're sitting on the ground or lying there, just wiggle that a little bit. Wiggle your toes if your feet are on the ground. Let yourself come back into your body. If anything that we were just talking about has triggered some grief, that's fine. Let it come up. Let yourself just go with the flow here. Let yourself be open to whatever's coming in the next few moments. Take 2 or 3 deep breaths in through your nose and let them out with a big sigh. When you take your next breath in, imagine that you're drawing that breath all the way down your body and into your feet, and then let it out with a big sigh. Bring your hands together in front of your heart like I have mine. This is a way to energetically connect with yourself, connecting with the heart center. You're letting the energy of your hands connect. You may feel them start to grow warm, or you may feel a bit of vibration. You may feel nothing, and that's fine. Let your energy and awareness come down through the top of your head and into your neck and throat. Let it come into your chest and upper back, into your mid back and your belly. Bring your awareness down into the low belly and the low back. Let this energy and awareness flow into your hips and your pelvis. Let it come down into your thighs and knees. Give yourself a nice deep breath at the knees in gratitude for the support they provide us. And as you're ready, let that energy and awareness flow down the lower legs into the ankles and feet. Let yourself feel really settled in your body. Let yourself feel heavy and relaxed before we take our journey. Take a few last deep breaths into any remaining areas of tension. Let them out with a sigh. Remember that your energetic sanctuary, your planet, is completely safe. Nothing can harm you there. No one can come who's not invited. It's your space. So as we prepare to enter that space, remember that you will be safe and secure through this whole meditation, regardless of any emotions that come up. And as you're ready, relax your hands into your lap or by your side. Let your palms face up if it's comfortable. This helps energy move upward as we travel out. And as you're ready, let yourself come out past your body into the space just around it. Let yourself grow big and expanded. Maybe you're floating above your body now. Maybe you've already left the building that you're in. Imagine yourself traveling out away from your town, away from the planet. You're looking down at the earth from space. And as you're ready, set your intention to visit your energetic sanctuary, your special planet, and just let yourself go there. The intention will draw you. Take your time with this. If this is the first time you've done this, it may take you a while to find your place. Just keep breathing and relax. Don't put any pressure on yourself. If the traveling is not working for you, then just imagine the most beautiful sanctuary you've ever seen, that you could ever imagine in your mind, and let yourself go there. That's your sanctuary. If you're traveling with me, look down on your planet before you approach it. Just notice how beautiful it is, how perfect it is for you. And then let yourself come in to your planet, to your sanctuary. We're traveling to the most sacred part of your sanctuary, just as we did the other night. Let yourself come very gently to this beautiful space. Notice how familiar it feels as you come back, like you're coming home. Look around, notice what you see, notice what the scenery looks like, if you're inside or outside. This space is completely yours. You can change it as needed. So you may be on a beach, but then the next time you come back, you may have a house on your beach or on your mountain, or you may be in a structure to begin with. All of these are perfectly fine. Whatever is coming to you is perfect for the moment. This is your space. For this meditation, if you're comfortable being outside, I encourage you to do that. If you have a building, maybe step outside of it. Let yourself notice how beautiful it is. Just take a few deep breaths here in this sanctuary, letting yourself feel settled and safe and calm. Listen to the sounds around you. Notice if there's any smells. Look at the colors. If you'd like to stay and not move on with the meditation, this is where you'll rest. Just let yourself find a comfortable place. Maybe there's a hammock hung between two trees or a fluffy bed. Let yourself sit or lie down and just relax here, soaking in this beauty, soaking in the rejuvenative qualities of your sanctuary. If you're choosing to move on, remember to be gentle through this process. There's no right or wrong answer here. Whatever's happening for you tonight is the perfect thing at the perfect time for you. You may come back to this meditation as many times as you want, so let go of any pressure here. Bring yourself to a place where you can see a ways off. Maybe you're looking down a beach. Maybe you're in a beautiful pasture in a mountain. Maybe you're in a beautiful, clean city looking down a long road. or a country near a farm, looking out on your fields. Whatever comes to you is perfect. But find a place where you can look into the distance a bit. And then set your intention to invite your loved one to come to you today. It's best to not pick someone specific, because whoever comes is who's meant for you. And remember, you can come back to this as many times as you like. So just send out an invitation that you'd like to see a loved one who's passed on, a friend, a family member. It could even be a pet. And you may find several loved ones coming to you, and that's fine too. Whatever happens here is perfect. You are safe and you are loved and secure in this space. So let yourself, as you've opened, notice that someone's coming from a distance. This is your loved one coming to say hello, to greet you. Let your greeting be joyful here. Let yourself smile, let yourself cry. Whatever happens here is perfect. And if no one's coming for you today, that's okay. You can imagine the person you want to see coming and standing next to you, if that feels comfortable. And notice here, you can hug your person, you can hold their hand, you can pet your dog or cat. This is all happening in a spiritual realm, but there's a tactile sensation that comes with this in your mind. I can see my beautiful soft beagle and touch his fur here and remember how soft he was. I can feel it in my fingers. I can see him playing and knocking my little toddler son down like we were really at the beach. I can see my dad looking on and smiling. In fact, today I can feel all my ancestors, everyone who's come before me is here. And it's so powerful and loving. And I share this love with all of you. This power of connecting beyond the physical. This joy of seeing someone you thought you might never see, or someone you've never met before. There is such power in our lineage. You have ancestors that support you. You may have never even heard of, and they're holding space for you here. And this is your space. You can invite them to stay longer beyond the meditation. You can set up a space for them on your planet, if you'd like, where they can come and go. And they recharge your sanctuary. They recharge your energy while you're still here on this physical plane. These people who have gone before us are functioning on an energetic level in a spiritual realm. They have strength and power that we don't understand to support us here while we're on our physical journey. It can feel so hard and lonely to be here, especially when you've lost someone. And they hold this space for us. They hold the space for you and all your loved ones. Take a deep breath and let yourself breathe in this love, this joy, this beauty. Let yourself experience anything that's coming up. Let this flow happen naturally. Know that you are safe and secure and loved. You're held in divine love. You're held in ancestral love. You're held in that love of family and friends who have gone before you. Here to tell you that death is not the end, that it's a joyous expansion, that they will be waiting for you when it is your time to expand, when your journey is over. In such a beautiful way, when we let go, when we let flow, when we step into this divine flow, everything, including death, becomes a beautiful, joyful experience, mingled with the pain of being here in the physical, but expanding into this spiritual realm, into this unconditional love, this joy, this beautiful reunification of families, of loved ones. Let yourself stay here for a few more moments, remembering to be gentle with yourself, remembering that anything that is happening or not happening for you today is okay. You can come back here. When we say goodbye, this is not goodbye. You can visit this place. You can invite your loved ones to come back. You can come into your beach house and find your relatives playing a card game. And let yourself go into the next few days noticing the synchronicities that you see. Let yourself see the signs that our loved ones present, even though they're no longer here, letting your video not work on a night that you were especially ramped up about, knocking things down, songs coming on the radio that remind you of them. These are all signs, these are all synchronicities beyond coincidence that remind us that we are never lost. No one is ever lost to us, and we are not lost to them. Spend a few final moments here. If there's anything you wanted to tell your person or people, you can do so now. You can come back and do that at another time if this is not the appropriate time for that. But know that this is a space where you can come and resolve unfinished business. And even if your loved one isn't here, even if you haven't seen them, if you're not experiencing this, they hear you. So you can speak to your loved one. You can send emotion to your loved one, and they will receive it, even if you didn't get a chance to see them. So send any messages you have now, if you'd like, before we head back to the physical. Decide if you'd like to invite your loved one to stay on your planet after you leave. They may have work to do elsewhere, but you can leave an open invitation for them to come anytime they like, if you want. And if you don't, that's fine. There's no judgment here. And as you're ready, we're going to prepare to very gently and slowly come back to the physical body. Get one last hug in or blow a kiss. Finish up your message. Your loved one may have a message for you. Let yourself hear that if it's meant to happen today. And then gently begin to float away from your planet, noticing how beautiful it is, how peaceful it is, and then coming back toward the earth, toward the physical realm. You can pause outside, notice how beautiful earth is from afar. That divine love is here, even though it's hard to see sometimes. You carry it within you, and this practice builds that love, that joy, that bliss, that flow, so that you can spread it to others. And as you're ready, then begin to come back down to the ground, floating gently into your town, back into your home or the building you're in, or if you're outside, coming back to your body. Let this be gentle and loving. Let yourself come all the way back into the physical. Repeat to yourself, I am fully present in my body. I am fully present in my body. I am fully present in my body. Let your energy come back in through the top of the head and the face, through the neck and jaw, to the shoulders and arms, down the chest and upper back, through the belly and the mid back, into the low back and low belly. Let yourself come back into the hips and the pelvis, into the thighs and the knees, down the lower legs, into the ankles and feet. Really let yourself come all the way back into the body here. Remembering that you can return to your energetic sanctuary anytime you like. But when you're here in the physical plane, it's important to be present for yourself, for those around you. Coming all the way back. And one more time, repeat to yourself, I am fully present in my body. I am fully present in my body. I am fully present in my body. Wiggle your toes and your fingers. Roll your wrists and ankles if you'd like. Just move around a little bit. Let your eyes stay closed for a moment. Take a few more deep breaths. Let them out with a big sigh. And let any emotion that you collected during this meditation go. There's no need to hold on to this. We can come back to this meditation. We can go back to our sanctuary and visit our loved ones anytime. So let the intention come into your awareness that you are not holding on to anything from this evening. You're letting it go out through your feet, down into the earth where the energy can be recycled for the highest good. Being in flow means that we let these emotions come through us and then we let them go. We don't want to hold on and create stagnation. So one more time, just state your intention to let anything that you're holding on to from this meditation go. The bliss, the joy will stay with you naturally, but anything that's causing a disruption of flow is what you'd like to let go of. And then as you're ready, you can open your eyes. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. It requires so much courage to be vulnerable and to do this work, to look inside of yourself, to shine a light into your darkness, to move beyond the physical realm and into these spiritual realms, to expand your mind and your energy. But I promise you that you will notice effects. You will notice things changing in your life. You will notice things flowing more freely and smoothly. You will notice perhaps more emotion coming up, but a freer flow of emotion, no longer holding on to so much. And you will notice that this affects your relationships, the way that you treat the people around you. So give yourself a moment of gratitude for sticking with this practice. Send some gratitude out to everyone who practiced with you today for creating this collective, this powerful energy. I hope that you experience that same feeling of power that I felt. But be gentle with yourself. If you're new to this, don't worry about feeling so much so soon. Just let it come naturally. I promise you, as you build the skill of doing this work, you will start to feel shifts. You will start to feel the energy around you. You will start to be able to move it in the way that you see me do when I do these meditations. This is something that anyone can learn. It just takes time and practice, and the reward is so great. So give yourself gratitude. Send gratitude to everyone who practiced with you. If you have any questions, if you want to share anything, you can message me. You can reach me through my website. You can leave comments on the video on Facebook as well. I'd love to create a community of safety here for people to feel comfortable to ask questions and to respond to each other and to support each other. So thank you for being here. Have a wonderful night. Have a wonderful rest of your week. And I will see you next week.